Gabe Hamel said, hey, why don't we bungee jump tomorrow? They came to me and they said, Alex, hey, do you want to go bungee jumping with us tomorrow? And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm a little bit terrified of bungee jumping. I don't know who isn't. But Gabe said something to me. And before that, I responded to him and I said, you know what? Bungee jumping is something that I want to do at some point in my life. And Gabe said, hey, well, then why not do it tomorrow?
Welcome to the Physicians and Properties Podcast, the show where we teach you how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want.
Doctor! 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 Doctor!
Now, here's your host, Dr. Alex Schloe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Physicians and Properties Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Alex Schloe. Today, we are going to do a 2024 year in review episode. We're going to talk about growth, wins, lessons learned, and I'm really excited to share this episode with you. One thing that's been really cool about the podcast is the opportunity to document my journey along the way. It's going to be really cool for me to look back over the years and listen to these podcasts and catch up on the year in review and all the other incredible guests and interviews that we've had on this podcast so far. It has been an incredible journey for the Physicians and Properties Podcast, and I cannot wait to see what 2025 has in store going forward. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my goals for this last year, what I accomplished, what I didn't, and what's next for 2025. So grab a cup of coffee or settle in on your commute and let's dive into this episode. So first, let's start off with some real estate goals and achievements. This is where much of my energy outside of the clinic was focused in 2024, besides my family, which is most important. So one of our goals was to stabilize our existing residential assisted living homes. And this was a huge win because we are working through some maintenance issues and really setting up the homes for success for operators to get into the residential assisted living homes and start operating. Oftentimes your lease period has a little bit of a ramp up period before the operators start paying the full lease fee. So some of our homes are still in the process of hitting that full lease fee. And we're really grateful that we have stabilized these homes and they're doing quite well in Arizona. We had a goal to acquire 4 to 6 residential assisted living homes with 50% being seller financing. We ended up with 4 properties. One was on seller financing that we purchased in Arizona. This was also a really cool off-market opportunity in which we leveraged direct mail campaigns to get some more deal flow. And then those led to some other offers and we were able to close on this home seller financing. We also purchased 3 more residential assisted living homes in Wisconsin through a fund. And we started one of the first, if not the first, residential assisted living fund, which is so cool. I aim for $10,000 per month of consistent cash flow by the end of 2024. We did hit that number on a few months, but we didn't quite reach the consistent cash flow that we needed. So I'm close and I'm working on other ways to bring this into sharper focus in 2025. And I'm pretty certain that we're going to jump way past $10,000 a month in consistent cash flow in 2025. We're already setting the foundation for some really cool deals and some really cool investment opportunities in 2025. It's going to help us far exceed these goals. I did have a goal to speak at a face-to-face conference or a face-to-face speaking opportunity at a real estate summit or meetup. I did speak at multiple meetups, virtual masterminds, and even a real estate summit. This goal opened the doors to building relationships and sharing value in the community. And we were able to impact a lot of folks. And I was able to share my journey of how I've been able to use real estate investing and entrepreneurship to give me the freedom to practice medicine how I want, and was able to talk to a lot of people about residential assisted living and what an incredible opportunity it is. I firmly believe residential assisted living is the best opportunity in real estate now and for decades to come. But you've heard me talk about that a ton, so I won't belabor the point too much. I did have a goal of raising some capital for a syndication and becoming a GP partner in 2024. And I was able to raise money for a small GP partnership stake and to help out with some investor relations and a few other tasks for the Tremont Lodge, which is an awesome boutique hotel in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. The hotel is actually currently undergoing a $3.5 million renovation, and it looks incredible. So if you are in the Smoky Mountains, check out the Tremont Lodge. We'd love to have you stay with us. we have been working on building out a referral tracking system and a referral process to generate referrals through our residential assisted living Facebook group, which has grown to over 13.1 thousand people who want to learn about residential assisted living or who want to start their own residential assisted living home. This has been incredible. And through this process and through these referrals, we generated approximately $22,000 in 2024 in referrals. This process has room for more optimization, but it is a strong start and something that we're focused on in 2025 of, hey, how can we create more referral opportunities? How can we track them? Because that is a key thing and a very difficult thing to do, is to track all the referrals that go out. And then how can we monetize that even more? So this is a really incredible opportunity. And think about it. If you are in a community or you have a network, what are some potential referral income sources that you may be able to have that can help generate a couple $1,000s or so per month in extra cash flow or in referral fees? I am really excited to say that we launched the Residential Assisted Living Mastermind, the RAW Room, in 2024. The RAW Room Mastermind has been so much fun. This took a ton of work and effort, but I can proudly say that we launched this in September and it has been a game changer. To pull back the curtain a little bit, we brought in over 6 figures through the mastermind in 3 months and built a community of over 55 paying and amazing members who are changing lives in senior care. It has been so cool to see how much growth has already happened, how many partnerships have already happened, and how people are getting the knowledge, the insights, the experts, and the help that they need to buy their first or their next residential assisted living home. And not only is this so cool to see, but also this is changing the lives of so many seniors who are going to get exceptional care in these residential assisted living homes that the RAW Room Assisted Living Mastermind had a small part of. And so this is incredible. This was one of the most awesome things that I got to do in 2024. And I am looking forward to seeing how the RAW Room Assisted Living Mastermind continues to grow in 2025. And if you're thinking, hey, I'm interested in investing in residential assisted living, then click the link in the show notes or visit therawroom.com. And there you can learn more about the mastermind, where we basically give you the tools, the knowledge, the insights, and the experts to help you open your first or your next residential assisted living home in a community of like-minded investors and action takers. It's awesome. I cannot talk about it enough. Let's move on though. So I was also able to do some pretty epic events from the real estate side of things. Every year I go to the 18 Alpha Ski Retreat. This past year was in Beaver Creek, Colorado. It was an awesome time getting to hit the slopes, tear up some powder. There was actually a blizzard while we were there, and learn from just incredible people. And it's been really cool because this ski retreat has been going on for 3 years. We're actually about to hit the 4th year in about a week and a half. And the core members who started going in that first retreat are still continuing to go because this retreat has changed our lives. And then we've been able to bring on new folks to come on and attend one of these retreats as well. Each year they've gotten better and better. Anthony and Dean at 18 Alpha Investing have been doing an amazing job, and the relationships, the networking, the business opportunities, the real estate opportunities, and the deep connections that have been formed have changed my life significantly. So if you have the opportunity to attend the 18 Alpha Ski Retreat or attend a similar mastermind, open up your checkbooks and do it, because I promise you the relationships, the networking, the experiences, the connections that you make have the potential to change your life as they have changed mine. I also had the opportunity to celebrate my buddy Brian Lubin, to celebrate his 30th birthday party in Whistler, Canada. This was an epic time with some awesome bros, where we also got to do a good bit of skiing, hanging out in hot tubs. We were at one point hanging out in the hot tubs, talking about some of our strengths, our weaknesses, and our biggest fears going into 2025, chilling in the hot tub, eating some KFC fried chicken, just a bunch of bros. It was an awesome time and an unforgettable experience, and I'm so grateful for. If you haven't yet listened to Brian Lubin's podcast, The Action Academy, put that on your playlist in 2025 and your life will be forever changed. That was the podcast that started this podcast for me. Brian is a friend of mine and he encouraged me to start the Physicians and Properties podcast. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of imposter syndrome, but I've been so fortunate to be friends with Brian, to see what he's doing with Action Academy, and get to pull a lot of what I've learned there into this podcast, which I hope it's been helpful for folks. Stephanie and I are really excited that we get to go on the Action Academy Dominican Republic trip that is coming up here in a month. February of 2025, we'll be heading to the Action Academy Dominican Republic trip, and we cannot wait to have some time to network with just absolutely incredible action takers and entrepreneurs who are doing big things while staying in a 5-star resort. It is going to be an awesome time. We're going to miss our kids, but we're super excited for that opportunity to grow, learn, spend that time together. So let's shift to the podcast and the Physicians and Properties community. We've made some massive strides together this year. We have continued doing weekly podcasts. I stayed consistent with weekly podcasts and streamlined content creation. Every week, we've produced one podcast, at least 2 to 3 reels, and a podcast cover post. It's been a grind, but the impact has been worth it. If you haven't hosted a podcast before, it is one of the hardest things to grow. It's incredibly difficult for a podcast to grow. The only way that it grows is if someone shares the podcast, if they leave a 5-star rating and a review, and they subscribe to the podcast. That's the only way it grows. So do me a favor for 2025. If you have not yet left a 5-star rating, left a review, and subscribed to this podcast, take a few seconds and please do it right now. It really helps the podcast grow, and it helps more physicians learn about how investing in real estate and entrepreneurship can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want. If you don't know, I've been doing freedom calls, which you can actually sign up for on the Physicians and Properties podcast, or click the link at the bottom of the show notes. And my goal was to do 20 freedom calls. I actually wanted to take a step back. Last year, I did 40 freedom calls. This year, I was like, you know what? Let me dial that back a little bit because life has been getting more and more busy. Well, I ended up doing 40 freedom calls. These calls are actually just some of my favorite parts of what I do. I like them so much. That's why I did so much more of them. Connecting with physicians who want to change their financial future, who want to change their family tree, who really realize that there are ways that you can start generating passive income or semi-passive income, and that can lead you to be a better husband, a better wife, a better partner. That can lead you to being a better physician. It's amazing. I love the freedom calls. If you haven't signed up for one and you're thinking about it, just click the link in the show notes and sign up for a call with me in 2025. I can't wait to talk with you about the freedom that you can create in 2025. One big focus that I've been trying to do is focus on LinkedIn, and I want to grow a LinkedIn presence a little bit more. It is a great place to network and interact with physicians, and there's a ton of physician entrepreneurs on there, and it's been so cool for me to learn from others who are further along than me and network with them. And that's how we've gotten some really incredible guests on the podcast. It has been a very effective platform for attracting more physicians. While my goal was to post about 3 times per week, I actually averaged closer to daily posts on LinkedIn throughout the year. And my LinkedIn growth has exploded. Right now, I think I'm sitting at about 1,027 followers in the year. It's been amazing. And it's been really cool networking opportunity. So if you have not yet leveraged the power of LinkedIn, I would encourage you to do that. One other thing that I really enjoy about LinkedIn is it's really a positive environment. It's not like some of these other social media outlets where you get a bunch of spam comments or you get folks who are just trying to tear you down. LinkedIn is an incredible website where folks are just building each other up and encouraging them. So if you're not on LinkedIn at this point, I would encourage you, get on LinkedIn, follow me. I'd love to see what you're doing. I'd love to follow you back. I've been learning a lot about efficiency in 2024 and into 2025 because I want to buy back my time. And I hired a new virtual assistant who helps run the podcast and does the social media perspective of that, because I'll be honest, I really love the interviews. I really love interviewing guests and having those discussions, but I do not like editing. I'm really bad with technology and I'm not great at creating social media content. So it has been awesome having a VA who helps do that, and she does a great job. I also brought on an executive assistant right at the end of Q4. This was something that I really wanted to do, especially after going to Whistler and learning from the guys there and Brian there about how an executive assistant can really just open up the door to so much extra time for you to focus on the things that you really love to do. Cole is my executive assistant, and she's been awesome. She's handling emails, she's handling calendar management, she's doing all these extra things, and she's going the extra mile to help free up my time, to help buy back my time so I can invest more, I can serve more, I can volunteer more, and most importantly, I can spend more time with my family. Having the right team in place has helped free up so much of my time. So think about some different ways that you may be able to free up or buy back some of your time in 2025. For the Physicians and Properties Facebook page, I did aim to grow that to about 2,000 members in 2024. I ended the year at 1,300 members. Growth has slowed, and honestly, that's 100% my fault. I've been focusing on other projects, and I have not been focusing on much on posting and engaging in the Physicians and Properties Facebook group. So that's something that I'm re-strategizing and figuring out how I can implement best in 2025. I also am so fortunate to have had the opportunity to raise approximately $800,000 for investments across multiple projects in 2024. We raised $650,000 for the Assisted Living Fund to purchase 3 homes in Wisconsin. We also raised $200,000 for an assisted living deal, and we raised $50,000 for another assisted living deal, not to mention the money that was raised for the Tremont Lodge. So I guess actually I probably raised closer to $1 million in 2024. And I will say raising money was a terrifying thing. The first time I raised capital, I was terrified. And even now with a little bit more experience, I'm still terrified, but it is such an honor. It is so cool to have the opportunity to provide to physicians, to provide to other individuals who want to invest, to give them the opportunity to grow their money. And also the fact that they trust me to grow their money is so humbling. So if you invested with me in 2024, thank you so much. If you want to invest with me in 2025, get on the investor list. I'll put the link in the show notes there. You can fill it out. It's really easy. And we'd love to offer you some incredible opportunities in 2025. The last segment that I want to hit on is some life and health goals. This year wasn't just about business. I made some major strides personally too. So let's hit some family milestones. And of course, the biggest, littlest highlight was we welcomed our son, Owen, on June 12th. He's been the perfect addition to our family, and I could not be more grateful to have a healthy baby boy. I will say he did hit a pretty gnarly 6-month sleep regression. So we did have a very painful month, but he is sleeping well. He's growing like a weed, and he is just the light of our life and our day. That big gummy smile with no teeth with his tongue sticking out just melts my heart every time. It's been amazing. And it's been so cool watching Jack, our 4-year-old, be such an amazing big brother to Owen. They are best friends already, and I cannot wait to see their brotherhood continue to grow as they age. It is just such a blessing and such an honor and so cool to be a father. And I'm so grateful for that. In terms of spiritual growth, I completed the Bible in a Year podcast, which has been awesome. Getting to hear the word every day on the podcast, the Bible in a Year, has been really cool for me. It's how I start my morning. It's how I drive into work every day, is listening to the Bible. And it really has helped reframe my mindset, help me be ready for the day. And I also started a really special project towards the end of the year after I heard an idea from Brandon Turner. Shout out to Brandon. I've been reading a chapter of the Bible each day and writing notes. And this is creating a personalized Bible for my son, Jack. It's a long-term project. It's going to take about 3 years to do, but I'm so cool to continue doing this so that this will be an opportunity that I can pass a Bible that's been personalized with my notes on each page and my thoughts on each page for Jack to have and keep forever. And then I'll start one for Owen next. You can never read the Bible too much, and I've been learning a lot throughout that process. One big thing I wanted to focus on was really making connection with Stephanie a huge priority. And we were focused on trying to hit monthly date nights. We came really close to this. We did miss 1 or 2 months throughout the year, but we built a really strong nightly connection routine. We got into this Korean tea, and I don't know if you've ever had it before. It's this Korean tea that they sell at Costco, and it's like this jelly tea that has orange peels in it. And you scoop this jelly into boiling water, and it is amazing. So we've been having tea nightly and incredible conversations. And some of the best talks all year has happened during those tea dates with my wife, Stephanie. Having an incredible spouse who supports you, who loves you, who is there for you all throughout the journey of medicine and all throughout the journey of entrepreneurship and real estate is the greatest life hack that exists. Your spouse can completely change your life and transform you into a better human being. I am a way better father, husband, dad because of Stephanie, and I'm so grateful for that. We had the opportunity to take an epic road trip out west in our camper. We visited places like Great Basin, Yosemite, Kings Canyon, Sequoia, Sedona, and had an amazing time. I've talked about it on the podcast, how much I love the camper because it's an opportunity for the whole family to come together in a small space, to spend a ton of time together, to be away from technology, to be out in nature. We love being out in the mountains. We love being outside. We love hiking, and camping is our favorite family activity. And it has been given an incredible opportunity to see some of the most beautiful places in the United States, to go on epic hikes, to eat lots of ice cream, and to have a blast together as family and just disconnect from the outside world. One thing that was really interesting for me, and I spoke about this the year before and this year, is that every year we go on one of these big trips, I'm always worried about all these things, emails, phone calls, business opportunities, whatever that may be. And I'm pretty anxious about that for the first couple of days. And then once I get out there and am sitting around the fire and just spending that time with my family, I realize that is what matters. Those conversations are what matters. My family is what matters. And it's so interesting. At the end of the trip, I'll look back and there may be one or two things that maybe required some small amount of my attention. But other than that, they all worked themselves out. And so it's just really interesting to see. We feel like we have to be so connected and control everything all throughout the day, when really taking that step back, things often work themselves out. So it's been really cool to see that. And we've been really trying to focus hard on building businesses like that, where we can step away and it's going to continue to function. So it has taken some work and some automations and some streamlining and some standard operating procedures, but it's 100% worth it to have the opportunity to just step away and be able to do that. Let's move along to some health and fitness things that I'd like to talk about. And, the first thing that I want to talk about is something that is really important and honestly one of the most difficult things to talk about on the podcast, but one of the most important things that happened in 2024. Admittedly, I suffer with anxiety. And I've been suffering with anxiety for quite some time. And I hit a point at work where I was really suffering with anxiety and probably some burnout. And this really started impacting my family. I realized that I was being more irritable. I was not being a great listener. I was giving everything I had at work and still practicing really good care, but I was coming home and not being the husband and the father that I wanted to be, that I knew I was, and that I needed to be. And once I realized that, I realized something had to change. So I started seeing a therapist. I started some medication for anxiety, and the combination of the two has been a complete game changer for me. And I'll be honest, the reason it took me so long, it took me years to admit to myself, really not to admit to myself, but really to admit to someone else that I was suffering with this. And they already knew. People could realize it. Stephanie knew, and we had talked about it, but it was until I really was willing to admit to another healthcare provider, to my good friend Nick, that this was something I've been dealing with, that everything changed. As soon as I was willing to admit to Nick, like, hey man, I'm really struggling with some anxiety. I'm having some panic attacks. I'm not being the husband and father that I want to be. I felt this huge weight, this huge burden come off my shoulders. And I became the husband I want to, the father I want to be. And I became a better doctor. I became more patient, and a lot more business opportunities came my way. Don't be like me. Don't be anxious for years, depressed for years, stressed for years, whatever that may be, or burnt out because you're scared of the stigma of mental health. I feel like there is a stigma that us that put on the white coats, physicians, nurse practitioners, physicians assistants, because we're pouring out so much to others and we're taking all their burdens upon us and we're trying to help them through their hardest days, we do a really bad job at taking care of ourselves. And I would encourage you, if you're listening to this, please reach out to me. Let me know. I will gladly listen to you and try and help you the best I can. But just know that you are not alone, and lots of physicians are struggling with anxiety, with depression, and with burnout, and we deserve to take care of ourselves. So don't be scared of that stigma that may or may not exist. Don't be worried about how that may impact your job. Take care of yourself. I mean, come on, we're doctors. We tell patients all the time how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with depression. We talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. We talk about medications. We talk about the importance of a therapist or a counselor. We need to do that ourselves and be willing to do that. And that has completely changed my life and completely transformed 24. Anyways, another amazing thing that happened is I went on this epic elk hunting trip with my buddy Luke. We were over near Telluride, Colorado. It was one heck of a story. I would love to tell you sometime about that story and that elk hunting trip, but it was amazing. We were really lucky that that was a successful hunt. On the last day, we did get an elk. And it was a trip that I will remember forever and a story I will tell my grandkids. It was amazing. I did have the goal to run 500 miles this year in 2024. I ran 634 miles, surpassing the 500-mile goal. While I did not complete a half or a full marathon, I am going to sign up for one soon. I plan on signing up for a half marathon before Q1 of 2024 ends. If you have any recommendations for great half marathons, or if you want to run one together, please reach out. I would love to do that. In terms of personal development, I really focused on less TV and more reading. I never really watched a ton of TV, but we did have quite a bit of time back in 2023 where we watched some TV, some nights where we watched some movies. And I realized I wanted to cut back on the TV and increase reading. Reading is one of my favorite things to do. And I think reading is such an amazing way to gain an incredible amount of knowledge. I mean, how cool is it that we have someone's, 20 to 30 years of someone's life experiences, all the tips and tricks that they learned, all the wisdom that they learned in pages on a book, and we can learn that from them. So I've really focused on reading a lot this year. And Stephanie and I were talking, we think we watched 10 hours maybe of TV in 2024. That does not count the time that we watched Bluey with our son, Jack. And let's be honest, Bluey's amazing. But outside of watching Bluey with Jack, we probably watched maybe 10 hours of TV, and I read a ton of books. My favorites, and this is in no particular order, and this is not all of them, are Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, 1 Second After, The Gap and the Gain, and many more. So if you are thinking, hey, maybe I don't have enough time to get things done that I want to, or I don't have enough time to read things that I want to, think about how much time you're spending on TV, or think about how much time you're spending on social media, scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. All right, let's wrap this up with one of my last goals of 2024 were to do hard things. And I did. Finally, I bungee jumped. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and the perfect reminder for me to keep pushing my limits. It was really cool to see how the guys in Whistler came together. And let me tell you this story because this is something that I think is really important about the folks that you're in the room with. We were sitting at dinner. One of the guys said that he wanted to bungee jump at some point in his life. Another one of the guys, shout out to Gabe Hamel, said, hey, why don't we bungee jump tomorrow? There's bungee jumping in Whistler. So they put up on their phones the bungee jumping company in Whistler, and multiple of the guys who were on this trip signed up. They came to me. They said, Alex, hey, do you want to go bungee jumping with us tomorrow? And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm a little bit terrified of bungee jumping. I don't know who isn't. But Gabe said something to me. And before that, I responded to him and I said, you know what? Bungee jumping is something that I want to do at some point in my life. And Gabe said, hey, well, then why not do it tomorrow? So I signed up and I did it. And I was terrified, but it was an incredible opportunity. So if there's something hard in your life that you're like, hey, maybe I'll just do this at some point in my life, why not do it tomorrow? And let me know what that is. I'd love to hear about the hard things that you guys are doing and keep pushing your limits as you go. 2024 was an incredible year of growth with wins and plenty of lessons along the way and a whole lot of growth. While I didn't hit every goal perfectly, I'm really proud of the progress I made with my family, with real estate, with medicine, with this podcast. To everyone who's listened to this podcast, supported it, reached out, I cannot thank you enough. I'm so excited for 2025 and what that has in store. So if you're ready to change your financial future, if you're ready to learn more about how practicing medicine can be impacted, how you can have the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want, stay tuned in 2025 because we have some incredible episodes on deck, some amazing opportunities for you. I'm looking forward to 2025 and I hope that you are too. Until next time, this is Dr. Alex Schloe with the Physicians and Properties Podcast, signing off. Hey, real quick, if you're still listening to this, I'm assuming you got value from it. So I need your help specifically. My 2-year vision with this podcast is to help 100,000 physicians learn how investing in real estate can give you the freedom to practice medicine and live life how you want. There are 2 main ways that a podcast grows. One is through ratings and reviews, and the other is word of mouth. If you can please leave me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as send this to 1 to 2 friends that you think would get value from it, we can reach the physicians that we want to reach. Thanks in advance and talk to you on the next episode. Please note that the information shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only. It should not be considered financial, medical advice. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the host and the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Defense or the United States Air Force.